will this actually matter at all? And we have some great segments that we wanted to set up also in the past about these debates and when they really showed us the path towards Trump. So we picked some of our past moments. And to me, I've pointed to this for a while. This is more than a decade old. It was during the 2012 presidential primary debates. It was Newt Gingrich versus CNN. And the reason why I think this clip we're about to show you is so important is I think this is when everything changed. This is when things went away from policy. It went away even from attacking the Democrats. This was the first full-blown attack by a Republican presidential candidate against the media, getting the people in the audience up in their feet against the moderators. And it really was, it really hearkened what Trump would become in this debate. It was Newt Gingrich versus John King over at CNN in a presidential primary debate back in 2012. Let's take a listen.
Your ex-wife gave an interview to ABC News and another interview at the Washington Post, and this story has now gone viral on the internet. In it, she says that you came to her in 1999, at a time when you were having an affair. She says you asked her, sir, to enter into an open marriage. Would you like to take some time to respond to that?
No, but I will. I think the destructive, vicious, negative nature of much of the news media makes it harder to govern this country, harder to attract decent people to run for public office. And I am appalled that you would begin a presidential debate on a topic like that.
Is that all you want to say, sir?
Let me finish.
Please.
Every person in here knows personal pain. Every person in here has had someone close to them go through painful things. To take an ex-wife and make it 2 days before the primary a significant question in a presidential campaign is as close to despicable as anything I can imagine.
As you noted, Mr. Speaker, this story did not come from our network. As you also know, it is the subject of conversation on the campaign. I get your point. I take your point.
John, it was repeated by your network. You chose to start the debate with it. Don't try to blame somebody else. You and your staff chose to start this debate with it.
That was it, Krystal. I believe everything changed that day. And now the reason why is that is with a prelude to the attacking the media, becoming the quote-unquote enemy, branding them. That's what Trump really picked up on. And that moment really... I mean, have you ever seen people act like that in debate before? Never. They were chanting his name. They were up on their feet. And here's the thing. Newt, yeah, he ended up losing. But he was always a talented politician. He was good at what he did. And so that led to what I think truly is where everything broke apart. That was kind of the prelude to this. It was Trump, the very first debate. Politics will never be the same. Him versus Megyn Kelly, and then against Jeb Bush. Let's take a listen.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
For the record, it was well beyond Rosie O'Donnell.
Yes,
To subject my wife into the middle of a raucous political conversation was completely inappropriate, and I hope you apologize for that, Donald.
Well, I have to tell you, I hear phenomenal things. I hear your wife is a lovely woman.
She is.
I
She's
don't
fantastic.
know her, and this
She
is
is
a total
absolutely the love of my life,
mischaracterization
and
of what
she's
I
right
said.
here, and why don't
Good.
you apologize
Good.
for her?
No, I won't
right
do that
now.
because I said nothing wrong, but I do hear
So
she's a lovely woman.
So here's the deal.
He refused to apologize. He turned it into a show. And I think when you put it all together, attacking the media, being the biggest force against the questioners themselves, which is something that we should look out for tonight. We're not, people up there aren't stupid. They're going to be studying also. Big moments. That was it. It's like you turn it into a thing, not just about against each other, but it needs to be a spectacle in which the people who are watching are frothing at the mouth, not against the moderators, but against the system of which they hate so much. And so turning it into this spectacle is ultimately how Trump was able to completely dominate the conversation and bring it back to that Newt moment and recreate it over and over and over again.
It's hard to remember now just how much Jeb Bush was built up as like the candidate that cycle. The amount of money that was behind this guy. I mean, he had like the perfect on paper bio. governor of Florida. Sound familiar, right? Hails from this famous political family, has all the connections in the world. The conservative media loved him. The liberal media tolerated him. He was supposed to be the guy. And Trump systematically humiliated him. And that's why that moment was so important to show of Jeb is like, apologize to my wife. And Trump is like, no, I'm not gonna do that, no, to his face. And Jeb just takes it. The fact that Trump is not showing up to these debates, it means that he doesn't have the opportunity to do the same thing, basically, to Ron DeSantis. Now, his calculation, which is probably correct, is that he doesn't even need to. DeSantis is sitting nationally at, I believe on our, RCP average, we had him at like 14.7%, something like that. He's doing a little bit better in Iowa. Maybe, I don't actually think he is doing much better in New Hampshire. Actually, Chris Christie is doing a little bit better in New Hampshire. Tim Scott is doing decently in New Hampshire. But Trump calculates that he doesn't even need to show up to humiliate his rivals to dominate this race. It's hard to argue that he is wrong. But, he was really talented at this thing. You may have hated what he had to say. I certainly hated some of what he had to say. I certainly hated some of the policies that he advocated for. But when you're just considering sheer political skill, there's really no one who is better in this format. The one debate where he had a dismal performance was that first one against Joe Biden, when he was way too aggressive. He was just so obnoxious, and everyone was like, shut up so we can at least hear a question or hear one single response. That was the one time when he was really off his game. But overwhelmingly, he excels in these things, and so he is creating a little bit of an opening here for someone else to excel and to do something that is different. Probably, the thing that will get the most attention here is the most vociferous defender of Trump, which also is a sign of the lay of the land in terms of the likelihood of any of these alternatives really succeeding. But I do think that the interview with Tucker that he's using to try to counter schedule the programming that's going on with the debate, I don't think that that is probably going to get all that much attention because it's just nothing all that new. It's on a limited platform. Fox is certainly not going to say anything about it because they despise Tucker, and Fox is still the biggest conservative media game in town.
So the way I look at it is he changed everything and then got himself up to 60% now, where he's acting as if this is a fake primary and that he is basically just in a two-way race with Joe Biden. And it's interesting, too, because many media are also beginning to focus in on this about not only his strength in the primary, but really his strength in the overall general election. And I was especially struck here by this CNN clip, Harry Enton, their political analyst he used to work over at 538, trying to hammer it home to all of the people at the network. We're like, hey, guys, this is a close race. Trump is very strong. He's in a good position to win, not re-election, I guess, win the election again, should he actually make it there. Let's take a listen to this.
Trump's lead is even larger. So these are three polls that were out over the last week. Look at these leads for Donald Trump. He's at 62% the CBS News YouGov poll, 57% in Quinnipiac University, 53% in the Fox News poll. Look at where DeSantis is in all these polls. Look how far back he is. He doesn't crack 20% in any of them. So in Iowa, you have that 20-plus point lead for Donald Trump. That's actually smaller than the lead we see nationally, where we see these leads of 35, 40, near 50 points in this particular case. Of course, the primary is one thing. If Trump wins the primary, can he go on and win the general election? And we've had three polls that have come out over the last week here. And I want you to take a look at how close this race is at this particular point. Granted, the general election is over a year away. The largest lead for Joe Biden is just 3 points within the margin of error. No clear leader. Look at these. 1 point, 1 point. If you go back at where we were at this point 4 years ago, Joe Biden's lead was high single digits to low double digits. This is significantly closer than where we were 4 years ago. So this idea that Donald Trump can't win the general election, I want you to lose that idea. This race is very, very close, and Donald Trump is polling better right now than basically at any point during the entire 2020 cycle.
After 4 indictments.
After 4 indictments. It just doesn't really seem to matter.
That's fascinating.
Harry Enton, thank you.
Thank you.
I want you to lose that idea. This idea, that's why he's not going to the debate. He sees that. He can read a poll. He's like, I got nothing to lose. I'm already doing this. I'm doing well. Biden's sinking himself. And so I keep coming back to the side of, while I think that the debate, look, I think somebody could have their moment, as you laid out in the Politico. Everybody can have, quote unquote, a moment. But to be riding as high as he is, to have so much control over the media narrative, to be so high ahead of the rest of them, he's just probably in the best position that he's ever been in. He shouldn't expose himself to weakness. On a strategic level, democratically, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I said last show, I believe that the rules should be changed. They should change the bylaws. You can't be the nominee unless you participate in the debates. But I know they're also never going to do that. Maybe once Biden and Trump are gone, they will change it. I think they should. The next time we have an open primary system where you don't have this same choice, do it. Put it in the laws.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's so depressing about both primaries, the Democratic and the Republican primaries. Yeah, they are setting the precedent now of, they don't feel that they have to subject themselves to any sort of Democratic accountability. And there's no indication that either the Democratic or Republican primary base are likely to punish them for that. So it is a sort of depressing state of affairs. In terms of CNN there, Harry Enton has been sounding the alarm. He did a whole piece laying out, guys, look at the polls now. Trump was nowhere near this close in 2020 with Biden. And by the way, remember, he almost won. It was very close in 2020. It's not like it was a landslide. And back in 2016, when he did actually win, he was nowhere near to polling as well as he is in these polls. Now, my personal guess is that the fact that the general election landscape is going to take place amidst the backdrop of all of his trials. The one in Georgia is going to be televised. There's going to be a whole courtroom drama around it. I do think that sort of offends a normie like Law and Order kind of sensibility, the idea that this man could literally be facing prison time heading into the general election. But can I say that with confidence? Can I say 100%? Like Joe Biden is a lock for getting reelected? No, not at all. And the fact that this is a jump ball right now where the polls are tied, where, to be honest with you, given the historic bias against Trump in the polls, you'd have to say he probably has an edge. I think it is a pathetic sign of the state of the Democratic Party. I think they should be holding their heads in shame over the fact that it could be so close. And let's not forget that many Democratic analysts and many within the White House reportedly were actively cheering for Trump to be the nominee because, once again, they never learned anything from history and they thought this man would be easy to beat. Apparently now they're starting to rethink that as they've seen Ron DeSantis on the campaign trail. They actually think maybe we'd rather go up against that guy. But look, that ship in many ways has probably already sailed.
I agree. So my TLDR on this is I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think this debate matters in the age of Trump. I think he changed the game. He was the most captivating of all time. He played it at such a high level, and now he's letting it be the JV league. I wish it wasn't the case, but it is what it is. And I think, he's correctly putting himself in a general election posture. And the media is treating him that way too, because they're not stupid. They can read the poll.
I would position it a little bit differently because I do think the race to be the primary Trump alternative matters in terms of who is going to continue to be a fixture in media and politics. So in the same way that Pete secured his cabinet position and his love among resistance liberals and among the donor set, I think, you've got those openings available for people who successfully are able to grab the spotlight at the debate. Do I think that it shifts who's going to actually win the Republican primary? I think that is very unlikely. Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.